So admittedly, I am a little behind the curve when it comes to putting out this video. Obviously, it is not halfway through 2026, but better late than never, I suppose. However, I did understand that there were probably a number of albums that I had missed when it comes to reviewing protest music, and that does in fact seem to be the case. I did come across this article, or really this website, run by CJ Baker, who has compiled a number of protest albums that some I did cover, but others I completely missed, did not know they existed, and so I did want to highlight both this website as well as these bands, these artists, and give them the credit that they deserve for being, again, protest albums of 2026. So here we are, 2 months late. Best protest albums of 2026 so far. As always, guys, definitely like and subscribe if you want to help support protest music. Check out some of our other reviews. Check out the Patreon account if you want to support the channel further. But more importantly, and I will link this down below, this website called Ongoing History of Protest Songs.com. Definitely go check it out, go support them, and let's compare and contrast what I have already reviewed and what CJ Baker ended up picking up. Alright, so here we have the Ongoing History of Protest Music, and if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we will find a little snippet about the author, the guy that runs this website, CJ Baker. So a little bit about him real quick to give him the proper shout out. He actually is a writer as well. It looks like he wrote a novel titled An Epic Soundtrack to a Mundane Existence, which admittedly sounds pretty cool. You should definitely go check that out if that sounds interesting in the slightest. It looks like he also started this back in 2017, so he's been at this for a little while. And honestly, I myself am quite impressed with the compilation of albums that he has just for this year alone. But looking at the side here, it looks like he has a good number of years. Again, just highlighting various protest albums. So this is definitely a good resource. Honestly, even better than my channel, I would imagine. So definitely go check out this website. Definitely go support CJ Baker. Again, I will link this in the description down below just in case you want to check it out. But now, scrolling all the way back up to the top, we're just going to run down the list, top 30 protest albums of 2026, and even here from the thumbnail, we do see some that we have already covered. We have the new KNEECAP album, FENIAN, one of my favorites for the year. We also have Moonwalker's new album, which again, fantastic. That's probably my personal #1 album so far in 2026. We also have The Neighborhood Kids, also a fantastic album. Even Vince Staples with Crybaby, another very good protest album. So I have my own videos on these albums that you guys can go check out. But the others here I am not familiar with, so I definitely have some catching up to do. Honestly, I don't think I have the time to really dive in deep and give all of these albums the credit that they really deserve. So again, that's kind of why I'm highlighting them here. I'll do my best to do a little bit of catching up, but again, I just don't foresee me pumping out album reviews really more than once a week, and honestly it's kind of hard to keep up with everything even at the tempo that I'm going now. So definitely let this be sort of a catch-all for everything that has come out, and if there's even an album that slipped through the cracks from this list, hey, definitely let me know in the comments down below and we will definitely fill in those gaps. So here, starting off with the first album, we have Tori Amos with the album In Times of Dragons. Actually, I think Tori Amos, if I'm saying that correctly, someone did recommend him. I think I did give maybe this album or one of his previous albums a listen. I did enjoy it for what I remember. But the little write-up that CJ put here, he said the latest album from Tori Amos is thematically structured, with each song centered on the perspective of a different character concerning the compelling concept album. And then Tori has his own little snippet there that you guys can pause the video and read if you would like. There are 30 of these, so we will be moving kind of quick as the highlight for 2026. I also don't think that these are ranked in any particular order, so again, some might be better than others. So in terms of scoring them for really the true top 2026 album, that might get kind of tricky. But moving right along, we do have the next album that, honestly, I'm not even going to attempt to butcher, so you guys can read that for yourselves and then look it up if you so choose. I do think that the album artwork is looking pretty dope, not gonna lie. Sometimes just a really good album cover might compel me to give it a listen, and this one very well may be that case. Apparently, this is the second album of a planned trilogy, so that's pretty cool, and they are an experimental Brazilian artist. This one looks like it's climate change heavy, so if you want some songs about that topic, definitely give this one a listen. And that brings us to the next one, 1783 by Aquaculture, the latest released from the Canadian rapper and vocalist in a powerful concept album based on the year that 3,000 black people left New York and sailed to the Canadian province of Nova Scotia with the hope of finding freedom. So it sounds like if you're looking for something about black history, this Aquaculture album is definitely right up your alley. Scrolling on down to the Red album by Carsey Blanton. Again, apologies if I'm butchering these names, but this is the second volume from the Red album by the left-leaning, unapologetically political songwriter, and it's just 8 protest songs, so maybe we can go back and check this one out since it's a little shorter. As CJ describes it, the perfect blend of defiance, heart, and wit. Gotta love that description. Now the next one here, Everything is Great, by, again, Carsey Blanton and The Burning Hell. Holy shit, does this album cover not look fantastic? I get really psyched when I see stuff like this. In fact, this kind of reminds me of that Napalm Death album that I will put up here for you guys to see, as well as the album From the Used, where it also has a lot of faces that you might recognize. This one right here, Everything is Great, definitely follows that same theme. Looks like we got JD Vance, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Nigel Farage. I can't tell, is that Mitch McConnell? Some other people that I definitely don't recognize, but I do like all of the fighter jets up top. If I had to guess, I would assume that this album deals a lot with imperialism, just based on the album cover. But reading the little snippet concerning the recently released collaborative album between socially conscious singer-songwriter Carsey Blanton and Canadian indie band The Burning Hell, excellent name. Love it already. Again, they have this little snippet that they posted on Facebook talking about late-stage capitalism, private equity, imperialism. Yes, I read those in reverse order. Just deal with it. But overall, that one sounds really enticing. If anything, it's actually caught my attention the most, if only because I am partial to those subjects, mainly imperialism, if you guys couldn't tell from the wall behind me. So that one we might actually do a full-scale review of, just to get that album on this wall. But next, we do have the first album that we actually covered here on the channel, the new Converge album, Love Is Not Enough. I have returned to this project a few times since reviewing it. I do think it's quite good. They did release a follow-up, the hymns or the hums or the something. Again, I'll throw it up here. I think this was their first album in quite some time. 9 years, actually, says this. So after 9 years, they actually dropped 2 albums in 2026. I did not cover the second one, but the album Love Is Not Enough, I thought, again, was quite good. Moving on down, we have The Internet Killed the Neighborhood by Marlon Craft. It looks like this one deals with a popular topic that we talk about on the channel, just the effect that social media has on an individual and also society at large. Looks like it's talking about online culture and how social media can be used as a propaganda tool, all things that we must be mindful about when navigating the internet. I also very much love that title, The Internet Killed the Neighborhood. And again, I know I keep citing this book, but I'm reading it currently and it's just so prevalent in my mind. But The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. This really must be required reading for all high school / college age kids, because it does such a good job of highlighting via research the effects that being chronically online can have really on children, but it can affect anybody realistically. And when you see all of the data compiled and you see the statistics, it really is quite alarming. Next, we have AOC, apparently, and now We Take America by The Dancing Congo. Is that Congo or Conga? Conga, my bad. Here we got Rudolph the Red-Nosed Play Button. So this album is a Norwegian indie pop trio, but it says that the most political aspect of the album is in fact AOC on the cover, which, side note, if you guys are familiar with the channel Stalking the Capitol with Nico, where he actually gives a grade to the members of Congress, and the grade is based on how many stocks they have, what their private wealth looks like, because of course all of that has to be disclosed to the public as they are a public servant. And actually AOC scores the highest on that metric because she does not trade stocks, she does not have any lobbying money, and in fact her net worth is rather small, and she still has a considerable amount of student loan debt, all of which is public information. You can look this up yourself, and even me right now explaining it might not actually be the full picture, but it is enough to show that she is actually in Congress, the least bought and sold member, very independent. Say what you want about anything else, she is not taking the corporate money. And the album is also a satirical social critique of what it takes to get ahead in America, which after reading that, I can definitely understand why AOC would be on the cover. So that one's worth checking out. The next one here, Earth to Eve, with their new album Oversharing on the Internet. I have heard of Earth to Eve. Someone did recommend them to me maybe a few months back. However, I did not listen to this album in particular, but it sounds like she built up a following all by herself, hence the title, as this article says. And the album is a blend of personal and political, which is always good if you ask me, because it's not just about what's going on externally, right? It's also how the individual handles all the added stress, keeping up with all of the headlines. That's why my personal favorite album from last year was actually Jer with his album Death of the Heart, because there was a lot of introspection. There was a lot of that internal monologue, that internal conflict that comes with being so perceptive to the world while also not letting yourself fall into apathy, not becoming numb to the situation. But this album here looks like it discusses topics such as addiction, toxic masculinity, climate change, and of course the Trump administration. So this one I should also probably do a full-scale review. I'm not making any promises. Like I said, I'm here to highlight these as best as I can, just out of the time constraint that I'm working under. I know, right? Woe is me. But some of these do sound quite good, and I would like to highlight at least some of them, as I did miss them for the year. Then we have the album No Borders by the band Ghost Peppers. That sounds interesting. So here we have a fusion of music styles from two warring nations, India and Pakistan, which, as we know, those nations are no longer at war because Trump fixed everything. Did he not? When he stopped those 7 wars? That's why he got that Nobel Peace Prize. Are you not picking up what I'm throwing down, y'all? Come on now. The commander-in-chief is stopping wars left and right. That's why we keep getting into all of these wars left and right. God, anyways. So yeah, that sounds pretty interesting by itself. Moving on, we have Play Me by Kim Gordon. So apparently Kim Gordon is 72 years old? That's impressive. And it really just goes to show, kind of like what KRS-One said on the one song that I can't think of right now, where he says, rapping at 70? Believe that it's no crime. Because it really doesn't matter how old you are. And here, even at 72, she is still indicting the Trump administration, tech billionaires, and the AI's negative creative impact on music, which is definitely a valid concern. And here she is, still using her voice, still being active, still getting out and doing shit, making a whole ass album. So like, what's your excuse? Why aren't you making an album? Don't look at me, I just work here. Next, we got West Side Trapped by Heaven Souls by a Nigerian-born, Texas-based experimental hip-hop artist writing a love letter to their native country, highlighting historical atrocities, which is always good, even though it's terrible, but it's good to acknowledge, it's good to understand and learn from the past. Of course, here it specifically relates to the Nigerian people, and on their Bandcamp page, they have the following statement: fuck Trump, fuck his imperialist mindset, and fuck that administration. To them, there is no liberation, just exploitation. And I think we are definitely seeing that with the moves that they are making on the global stage, of course, using our tax dollars, using our military, as they all enrich themselves off of meme coins, which should just infuriate everyone. Maybe one day there will be an investigation. And here we have Discombobulated by Hen Ogled, I think. The album cover looks pretty discombobulated, but it's a UK experimental pop collective, including lyrics both in English and Welsh, decrying the rise of nationalism and speaking out against nuclear weapons and capitalism. Nuclear weapons are definitely a massive concern, right up there with climate change and AI, where they really have the power, the destructive force, to completely ruin society as we know it. So it's really in our collective interest to mitigate those dangers as much as possible, and really things that we should all be on the same page about. Next, we have Mutiny at Midnight by Johnny Blue Skies and the Dark Clouds. Excellent name. Looks like this album actually went number 3 on the US Billboard charts, so that's pretty impressive. The album blends country funk with social commentary that resonates in the current political climate, with tunes such as Make America Fuck Again. I mean, need I say more? Excited Delirium? Speaking out against police militarization, which again, it's very nice to see people busting back against the data centers, against the flock cameras, and really how ICE is being used, how the recruitment process is completely lackluster, giving people very little training and then a badge and a gun to go round up brown people by any means necessary. And there's also the song Ain't That a Bitch, an anti-fascist indictment of the current administration and the oligarchy. We love that. This is a really good list. Next, we have FENIAN by KNEECAP. Excellent album. Again, I did actually cover that. Maybe I will link that in the comments down below, so no need to linger on that too long, though it is an excellent album. Then we got Erg, I guess is how you say that, by Mandy Indiana, the sophomore album from the English-French noise band, speaking out against her abuser and the political elite, which if you need a song about speaking out against abusers, definitely check out Delilah Bond, Dead Men Don't R-Word, but it also sounds like Mandy Indiana is also in that same vein, so definitely go check her out. The Color of Rain by Aja Monet? Help May pronounce names. Anyways, super cool album cover. I'm really digging this list. This one talks about the rising fascism, also addresses both the wildfires and the ongoing G-side in Palestine, with the hard-hitting lyrics from Palisades to Palestine. An actress compares the LA oceanfront to Gaza, never mentions the Rafah border, the cutoff of 2,000 aid trucks, neglects to mention body bags, rubble, or the Israeli snipers aimed at children, but everyone's donating their wardrobe to people without closets. Now, first time reading that, yeah, that's a lot. But it's very good, talking about the aid that has been cut off, talking about the indiscriminate unaliving by their military, the Rafah border, and the incursion that happened there. So if you are at all concerned by the Israel-Palestine conflict and the suffering of those people in Gaza, this album, at least so far, seems like it is the best one to talk about those topics. And next we have, again, one of my favorite albums of the year, Moonwalker, Wasteland Country. My review will be down below, as well as my overall thoughts of the movie that he put out, sort of an extended music video for the album itself. So if you are a Moonwalker fan or you very much enjoyed this album, definitely go check out the miniature movie that they put out for this album. Very good indeed. Which brings us to The Quiet Part Loudly by Nameless Friends, a Canadian queer inclusive glitter punk band with an invigorating blend of personal and political, covering a range of topics including colonial genocide, very important, police brutality, also very important, internet culture, we already touched on that a little bit, and generational trauma, which is also incredibly important. Like, really, more needs to be said for the generational trauma that people carry into their lives and how it might affect them in almost invisible ways, but it's not really invisible. It's always there. It's always looming. Those untold hurdles just make it so much harder for you to genuinely flourish, and you have so much more betting against you. But generational trauma is very much a real thing. And look at that, they also call out the R word in the White House, hashtag Epstein files. And then we come to The Voice of the Revolution by the Neighborhood Kids. Again, excellent album. This one and Moonwalker, by the end of it all, these will be probably the two competing albums unless something just completely blows us out of the water between now and then, which, based on the way that this is shaping up and all the albums that I'm not even aware of just yet, that is possible, but you definitely don't want to sleep on this album. I will link my review down below. Then we have Weimar by Mary Ocher? Something? A Russian-born, German-based experimental artist doing a piano-based avant-garde piece based on the fall of the Weimar Republic and the fascism that followed, talking about the Nazis. The album draws historical parallels with what is currently taking place, so that's super fascinating. Again, learning from history, learning that history doesn't always repeat word for word, but it often does rhyme. It sounds like if you're looking for a good historical context for what we are going through now, this right here would be the album for you. Then we have Red Star Wu and the Worldwide Scourge by Genesis Owuzu. So I did listen to this album when it first came out. I did not do a review because I was tied up with other reviews, but I can say for sure that this album is very good. But don't take my word for it. Go give it a listen. By Ghana-born, Australian-based rapper Genesis Owuzu, and he said, I started writing this album because I was seeing so much of the world and watching what was happening. So it sounds like he was getting so absorbed with everything that was going on that he couldn't help but write this album. An album that talks about systemic racism and speaks out again on the G side happening in Gaza. Three Swords, Private Wives. Anybody watching have a private wife? Me neither. So this is a Australian feminist punk band. It is a uncompromising tune that takes a clear stand against the patriarchal ideology and issues a clear message statement towards those who try to hold them back and tear them down. So if anything, the wall is missing a little bit of that, so maybe I might do a review of this to kind of make up for that absence. Then we have Bloodline by Mon Ravia. Singer-songwriter heavily influenced by his experience of being forced into being a child soldier during the Civil War. What the fuck? Adopted by an American family at 7 years of age, the songs also deal with themes of identity, assimilation, and the challenges of a transracially adopted refugee. Holy shit, bro. Go listen to Mon Ravia. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Because that shit is crazy. And then look at the goddamn cover art. Dude, that's a wild story. I'm kind of blown away. Bloodline? What a title. Oh shit. This list is so fucking real. Alright, then we got The Monsters They Made by Norman San. This 14-track mixtape by the indie rapper and multi-instrumentalist has received a limited digital release. Again, blending the personal with the political, examining the environment that has contributed to both his development as a person and a performer. We got the social commentary on issues such as systemic racism, boom, political pandering, boom, income inequality, boom, boom, and of course, climate change. Sounds like there's a good spread of topics that he hits. You got 14 tracks, go throw on that mixtape. Sounds pretty good. Then we got Slut World by Slut Intent. That also sounds pretty good. Pretty interesting cover art. So, what is Slut World about? So just before the murders of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, who of course were murdered by ICE agents, this album by the Minneapolis feminist punk expresses the justifiable rage that many are feeling during the current state of political chaos. Also, in a society where the elite tries to vilify immigrants and marginalized groups, the band makes it clear who the enemy is with lyrics such as, "I wonder what keeps me alive in this hellish world where these greedy fucks gouge every ounce of value from every poor soul trying to survive." Sounds like Slut World is on point. Gotta go listen to Slut Intent. Then we got Dads at the End of the World by Soul and Televangel. Interesting. So we have socially conscious MC, Soul, and producer, Televangel, talking about the challenges and lessons of fatherhood, always very important, giving them advice to navigate through these tumultuous times. I told him never pledge allegiance to a flag. What kind of sick shit is that? Yeah, that is kind of weird that they made us do that. Propaganda. And now we arrive at Vince Staples with his new album, Crybaby. Again, I did a review. I'll link it down below. It's an excellent album. I actually return to it quite often. Then we have this one, Please Read for Yourself, by the Canadian Indigenous throat singer. Opens with a direct, "Fuck war!" Yeah, see, that's the thing, guys. Like, protest music is so diverse that here we even have throat singing as a way of getting our points across. Pretty fucking cool. Then we got Jesse Wells with Masks Off. This album is fantastic. Jesse Wells is a fucking boss, the Bob Dylan of our time. I did a review of this album. I'll link it down below. You're probably sick of me saying that shit, but I don't give a fuck. Oh shit, was that it? Oh shit, that was it. All right, well, hey, shout out again to CJ Baker and his website, Ongoing History of Protest Songs. This has been great. This has been delightful. I really gotta say, this really does highlight just how much protest music is out there. That was 30 albums, all within the 6-month time span. There's 6 months more to go, or at least at time of writing that article. Now we only have 4 months to go, and even since then we had The Strokes, Misery Index put out a new song, and there's a lot more coming down the pike, so definitely leave a comment down below if one of these albums has reached out and touched you. Let me know if any of these made an impact. If there's one that you really think I should check out, definitely let me know that as well. And if any of those sound enticing, definitely go give them a listen. Go support those artists because they are doing what they can in terms of using their voice, using their art to send a message to the masses. And music, as I always say, is a very powerful force. And at this point, we need all hands on deck, everybody doing something. But I strongly believe that music can help propel us into a better world. Not saying it's the solution to every single problem, but it's really good at getting a crowd fired up. So, on that note, guys, again, check out the reviews down below. Go check out this website. Go support CJ Baker. Let me know what you thought of this video. Like and subscribe to help support protest music. Go check out some of my other reviews. And check out the Patreon if you want to support the channel further. And until the next one, guys, stay well, stay safe, stay informed, and we will see you on the next one. Later.